as John Constantine. So they were very underrated, as you say, and not a lot of people talk about it. So go on.
Um, so getting on the thing with that is, I actually see this as a good gateway. I mean, Tim, I'm going to give birth to Tim. It's that animated movies, that man on DC made projects. Here's the thing: he's always wanted to do an adult movie about the Authority, which is now the DC universe is Wildstorm. It was all part of DC. Um, why not do one big animated Authority movie? That's a good way to get out of the sandbox box for animation. And that's something we could have brought up earlier. I wish I remembered that to bring it up. But this is a good chance for DC and Warner Brothers to get out and prove that hey, we're ballsy enough to do a DC. And we're going to do an animated movie about a DC character, and it's going to have somebody get killed and show blood.
Okay.
And like I said before, it's a good way to get out of the sandbox.
Right.
That.
I mean, what it also comes down to is what T is saying is that, from what the gist of what I'm getting is that live action doesn't always work for everybody. It really doesn't. You could try your best to do it, and if you don't have respect for the character or the creators of that character, because my logic is to always have the creators of that character involved in the project somehow or less. That would be my view of it, to get their approval on it, because I wouldn't feel right of doing a movie of a certain character without the kind of thumbs up from the creator. I mean,
yeah.
Let's face it. I mean, when you look at the only other DC movie that I can think of right now that came out was that god awful Jonah Hex movie. And what happened? And what happened with that movie? As much as I said I didn't mind Josh Brolin playing Jonah, but that movie just really bothered me because of the fact that I didn't see it in movie, guys. I didn't. I watched it finally on cable one day. It came on, and I was like, let me sit down and watch this. And I watched this, and I'm like, all this mysticism for no reason. So when you hear, if you see the video of the just some random guy talk about it, Jonah Hex was a mixture of Ghost Rider and Constantine. That's pretty much what it was. There was never in the Constantine, the Jonah Hex books, where he says he can bring back people from the dead by touching them. I'm like, what the hell is this? And this is supposed to be a Wild West movie, right? So where's all this science, all too much of this almost high-level science that wasn't even around back in that day? And it just...
West.
Yeah, it felt like the Wild Wild West. So it bothered me to see that. But then comes this 5-minute animated film of which Thomas Jane voiced him, and he did it great. And I'm like, why couldn't the movie been like this? In 5 minutes, they got what Jonah Hex, the essence of what Jonah Hex is. A gritty western about a bounty hunter with a scarred up face that deals justice to bad guys. And that was in 5 minutes. Jonah Hex was like an hour and some minutes. And I got a plus for that. Thank you very much. But, yeah.
I think the thing was about 12 minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
12, but no matter how short it was, it still got the essence of what Jonah Hex was about. And that's saying something. And that's a plus and sad, because it's like, then why can't you do this live action wise?
Exactly. And it's so, I mean, the DC animated stuff, like I said before, they're kicking so much ass. I mean, these movies have been they've been released and have been great. They have been. I mean, Batman Under the Red Hood. I can't tell you how many people. I work at Best Buy, and I can't tell you how many people came up to me and was like, "Man, I had no idea there was another Robin," and yada yada yada, and they were so excited about it. I even had people coming up to me saying, "These are just as good as the Nolan Batman movies." I'm like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "There are more to they have." I'm like, "There's more that they have released." The DC animated stuff that they released, and I told them about it, and they was so excited. They said, "Thanks for showing me these. I had no idea that they were doing this." And you look at the live action, and we get crap like Catwoman and all that.
And they just don't get it. They need people who have respect for these characters.
Exactly.
And I know a lot of people will say, well, if you do animation, you're going to turn people off of the franchise. That's not the case.
Not necessarily.
Look,
not necessarily.
If you do it right, like I keep saying, look at Pixar. Pixar does animated movies each year, and you know what? Those movies make a hell of a lot of money. And you know why? Because they have respect, they know what they're doing, and they're not just a bunch of suits who just want to release money. Just want to release movies for money. You see what I'm saying? They know exactly what they're doing. So don't tell me that animation is going to turn the crowd up. That's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I urge, if you haven't been watching the DC animated movies, people who are watching this, I urge you to go out and buy, or if you're not going to buy them, at least look at them somewhere, YouTube, stream or something, because they are doing so much good material over there. And their live action stuff is failing. I mean, just this year alone, the Green Lantern movie, yes, we talked about it, it failed, but Green Lantern Emerald Knights was really, really good. I highly urge you to look at that. If you're a person who's never been interested in Green Lantern and you saw the movie and you were like, this is a piece of crap, I urge you to look at that. And First Flight.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying on that.
I mean, I think our friend F.W. Waller he's made it very much notionable that, subscribe and check out his channel, people, that one of the main characters he would want to see come live action is Green Arrow. And I've said it myself, is that if you look at Oliver Queen's origin, right there is a great movie done right, as I always say. But if you want to get a little taste of Arrow by himself, really, then you watch the little short, Green Arrow short with Merlin and Vertigo and all of them, where it took place, it was in one setting, it was just in an airport, where Arrow was basically protecting a young queen, and that came off so good, and it makes you wonder, like, once again, look at what they did to him kind of on Smallville. It's like, okay, if y'all could get away with what you did with him in that movie, that animated movie, why couldn't he have been somewhat like that in Smallville? Now, granted, there have been some moments in Smallville where the actor did remind me of Oliver, but then there are times he came off way not looking like Oliver Queen. Bottom line, the character of of Arrow in Crapville or Smallville, as V would say, he reminded me too much of one person. A young Tony Stark. That's exactly how he looked like. But
with it.
Yeah, with arrows, thank you. But Arrow would be another great addition. If people were like, oh, I love Batman, then that's all Arrow pretty much is Batman, just green with arrows. He's an archer. So he would work. There are characters that could work, but once again, come back to those fan-based characters that'll say, "Oh, he's just a rip-off of this." We talk about Captain Marvel, Shazam. I guarantee you, 100 to 1, people, if he was to come out of a movie, people would already say, "Oh, look at this Superman wannabe." I got a comment from one of my videos about this at one point, where this guy, I don't know if he knew anything about the character. All he said was he's just a ripoff of Captain America, Captain Britain. He said, oh, he's just a ripoff of Captain America. So I asked this guy, I said, why do you say that? I want to hear what you got to say about that. Well, and this was his answer to people. Well, Captain America came out first. What? That's not an answer. You just made yourself look so ridiculous. You're not giving me a straight answer. Now, there are similarities between Superman and Shazam, but they are totally different in all the way. So, you see where I'm going at with that. But once again, I spoke my mind as well, and I think I should give somebody else a chance. What do you say on that, T?
You know, I feel like DC, you know, there are characters that are like the other one, but they have their differences. Like you said, Captain Marvel. I never saw him as a Superman type. You know, he was a Superman ripoff. You know, people think he's just Magic Superman. No, that dude is so much different. You know, he has his own different rogues gallery, which I think totally needs to be retooled, by the way. But
right. Yes, I think we all will agree on that, yes.
But, you know, Captain Marvel can carry his own movie, but yes, granted, animated. And I don't know why, but I really like to see, you know, like, I want it to be out there. I really want a Captain Marvel. The same thing goes for The Flash. If they do movies, especially animated, you know, let them be completely out there. Don't make them grounded. I'm even afraid if they do go ahead with the DC animated movie for the big screen, they're going to try to make it grounded and realistic.
Right.
Yeah. That, you know, take the liberty of animation. The Flash, as I've always said, the Flash is the embodiment of the Silver Age. Let me see that.
Right.
Let me see the cosmic treadmill. Let me see the Speed Force. Let me see talking gorillas in Gorilla City.
Right. You see, and that's another thing. See, you just brought up a good point. And that's, I think, the problem is with DC as well, is that they try to ground these characters now in a basis of reality. They're superheroes. They're not. This is not reality-wise. It works for some characters, but somebody like Lantern, let him be Lantern. Don't ground him. And that's kind of what happened in the movie. They grounded him too much. They added too much base of comedy to that, which Lantern shouldn't be. Too much comedy hurts a character like that. And now somebody might throw, but they tried to do that with Marvel. Not necessarily. Look at Thor. They made Thor what he was. Yes. They gave him a little basis of, like, is he, it was a question of, are they Asgardians aliens or are they gods? But it still kept the essence of Thor. Captain America, same way. It had a bit of science and reality-wise, and I've always said it, the super soldier serum is nothing but really a high-generated steroid, but it still had the essence. And I use that essence of Captain America because that's truly what it was. You know, you take all the movies that Marvel has done, and I always said it, Marvel tries to bring out their lesser-known characters, and come the future after the Avengers, we're going to see more of that from Marvel. They're going to start bringing out more movies of their lesser-known characters like Doctor Strange and Luke Cage and people like that. They want to do movies like that. They are
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. They want to see these guys because they realizes that we know who Spider-Man and the X-Men and the Hulk and all those people are. It's time to bring out characters that not everybody is familiar with. And that's what DC seems, those suits at Warner Brothers don't seem to understand, is that we want these characters, but you want to feed us that, well, we'll give it to you, but it's going to be on our terms.
Yeah, baby steps, basically. They take baby steps.
Right.
Well,
Taking baby steps. And, you know, get it back on the whole, ground and a realistic thing. Look, I like Nolan's interpretation of Batman. I can appreciate it. Those are great movies. But not everybody should copy Nolan. Okay?
Say that again.
Look, there's a saying that the great Bruce Lee said, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. You cannot